One, yeah, we're recording. We're recording. This is our big. A lot of things have happened since the last time we did it. We recorded. Daddy Spielberg, he came back with a new movie, and also we've been seeing this new. I'm gonna say like revolution in cinema where it's like these like YouTubers, they're making movies. So I think we're gonna have like a disclosure day session, a disclosure day discussion, and then we're gonna talk about this YouTube kind of phenomenon. So anyway, I'm Mark, and introduce yourselves.
I'm Ben. I'm like a big Spielberg fan, so
Yeah,
let's see what I thought of this shit. Come on, let's go,
yeah.
baby.
I'm CJ. I think Spielberg is a hack,
Oh
so
yeah,
Whoa, 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 whoa,
the king
whoa.
of flops,
kidding.
king of flops,
I'm
Steven
kidding.
Spielberg.
I'm kidding. I like Steven Spielberg a lot, so yeah, this
Yeah,
conversation will be interesting.
Yeah,
I like him too. I even like his bad movies, always isn't that bad. I kind of like the Terminal. I kind of like the Terminal.
yeah,
I like the Terminal. I love Ready Player One. So
yeah. Me too. I
yeah,
love Ready Player One,
yeah. So
and I'm like a big Lost World defender too.
yeah. Uh, so Disclosure Day. This is the new Steven Spielberg UFO extravaganza. Uh, uh, it's his first big sci-fi movie since Ready Player One, like nearly a decade ago, and I and it's about this guy. He's basically like Edward Snowden, and he uncovers all these alien. Uncovers all of these alien secrets, and yeah, I thought this movie was mid. I thought this movie was very mid. Um,
Interesting.
uh, I wanted to take a nap during it.
Yeah.
I wanted
Fair.
to take a nap during it because it's just like a big chase for most of the movie. It's a well directed movie, but it's just like this boring fucking chase for the entire movie, and then you get to the end, and then I don't want to get into spoilers, but we can get into that later. But I get to the end and I'm just like, that's it, that's it. So I was
Yeah.
more like disappointment day in my book.
Hmm.
You can rat off your opinions now.
Yeah. Um. So you guys don't know exactly how I felt about this movie because I've in our group chat I've been kind of vague,
Yes,
kind of dancing around the subject.
world
Um,
premiere.
I think it's interesting that you say it's mid because that's actually going to make this a really interesting review because I actually think it's bad.
What? Holy
I actually think it's a
shit!
I actually think it's bad, and it's
I saw
mainly
that. I saw
on
that
a
too.
script level. On a script level, David Kep, who I actually like, he's done some really great stuff recently. Black Bag was really good with Steven Soderbergh. Yeah, I think it's honestly one of Spielberg's worst movies,
Well,
which is like wow.
I thought it
I
was.
mean, like you said, it's well directed.
Yeah,
There's some great like Janusz Kaminski cinematography.
and I think the performances are
And
pretty good too.
yeah, and there's good performances, but like, what the fuck? What are we doing?
One of the funniest scenes in the movie. It's very early on when the Josh O'Connor character, he's showing his girlfriend like the videos of the aliens, and the girlfriend's like, "Are they human? Are they children?" And it's like, what the fuck do
Yeah,
they look like? They look like aliens, you know?
yeah. I mean, you could have almost done this like without that. Like, it could have been about anything, really. Like, it is
About the
about
Epstein
aliens, and it's
files.
also not about aliens at the
About
same time.
you can make it about the Epstein files.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like not to get like too spoilery, but wow, did they pick like the most generic like fucking shit they could do with aliens? Like, and it's crazy too. And well, we'll have to get into the spoilers to talk about this. I just think Spielberg, he somehow doesn't realize that he has like amplified this mythology himself with Close Encounters. So many people think that, well, so many conspiracy nuts think that's like real shit. And because of that, he like, he's just like repeating like a regurgitation of his own mythology that he thinks is real, but also he created it somehow.
Yeah.
So I think that's ridiculous. If you've seen the X-Files, it's basically like the optimistic version. Like X-Files is like pretty nihilistic. This is like the optimistic X-Files, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
CJ, your thoughts on this film?
I find myself in a weird spot where I like this movie the best out of you guys. I don't
Holy
think this
shit!
movie is great. I don't think this movie is great, but I think it's interesting. And I don't know if this is how you guys feel about the movie, but I feel like the the crux of whether or not you like this movie is how you feel about the ending, and especially the last 15 minutes, which I loved.
I think
I
we're
saw
gonna.
this movie with my girlfriend,
I think we're gonna have to get
and
into
she,
spoilers.
yeah, I'm not gonna get into spoilers yet, but I saw this movie with my girlfriend, and she fell asleep. I want to say for like a good half hour of the movie, and her takeaway was, so we just spent 2 hours for the movie to tell us something that we already know, which was aliens are real. Um, which I guess that's kind of the take that I've seen a lot of people. What I mean by, like, if you like the ending or not, the ending of this movie is unapologetically optimistic and sentimental, and I've
yeah.
seen a lot of people uh, don't like that because of the way the world is right now and how cynicism and nihilism seem to be the default on how people view the world. So if you're viewing the world and how we regard information in a negative way, I guess I understand why you would call bullshit on the ending, though I think it's kind of, in many ways, I think that's kind of a stupid outlook to have on this movie, especially a movie made by Steven Spielberg, who's probably the most sentimental filmmaker we have. I just don't understand why you would have that. I don't know, but I don't think this is a perfect movie. I think this movie, but I think this is, I think a big, a big, I think a big disconnect between this movie and audiences is, I think modern blockbusters, specifically like the MCU, have sort of trained audiences to view modern blockbusters in another way. And Spielberg just isn't that person. Like, he is an old school filmmaker. And I think a lot of what I hear people bumping up against this movie is old school blockbuster filmmaking. And so when you're, you know, Spielberg is a guy who's in his 90s, whose heyday of blockbuster movies paved the way for the modern distortion of it now. When you're asking that guy to make an alien movie, he's going to make a throwback alien movie. And a lot of people have said that this feels like an alien movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, like that's his gear. Like, he tried to be modern with Ready Player One. Personally, I don't think he was successful, but there are a lot of people who like that movie and view it as more of a commentary on modern blockbusters rather than it feeling like a modern blockbuster. So I just don't know what we expected out of this movie other than the movie that he gave us. There's some, I'm not gonna lie, there's some junky shit in this movie, and then I think personally, I think the character arcs of Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt, I think they don't work necessarily. I think the Josh O'Connor character just gets lost in the last
Yeah.
act of the movie. He just doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
And I think Emily Blunt is really good at what she's given. I don't think that character has I don't think they landed on successfully what her emotional arc is
I think
outside of the
every
big
character was
reveal.
underwritten. I think
But
every character was underwritten.
I think they're leading up to. I think they want the emotional catharsis of her character in the third act, which we'll get into, to be like the big emotional moment for me. But I think the movie would work if that catharsis was something we knew from the get-go. Like, I don't think that the movie is served by that big emotional third act being its reveal.
Yeah. Could somebody explain Colin Firth in this movie? Because I just thought that character was like horrible. Like just like one of the worst villains I've seen in like a long time.
He's
Just like
basic.
there's nothing. He's just evil and then he's not evil at the end. Like what?
He's basically Peter Thiel, Colin Firth's character in this
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
He runs this company that's like this data company that works with the government. Just like
Yeah. And then like the villains in general are just like so fucking incompetent. Like I just like couldn't believe
Isn't that
like
old school blockbuster filmmaking though? Like, isn't that's what?
but usually there's like
That's what
you can
those old school like 70s and 80s blockbuster movies
but
are.
usually
That
suspend your
usually the villain
disbelief
is like one.
and not have to question like the like mechanics of that universe. Like I don't know how that universe works if like these like top agents are like they can't like find this one guy for like the whole movie. It's just so hard. And like he's clearly right behind them, and they just if they look the other way, they'd see him. But of course, they're looking the opposite direction, or oh, they're I don't know. I don't want to get too into spoilers, but like fuck, man, that was just like really unbelievable for like probably the greatest director to like say, okay, that's okay.
This is what I mean by like I just think we're so trained on the modern feel of blockbusters that like because like the stuff because I guess I mean we can get into spoilers now, so if you haven't seen the movie skip ahead like like an hour or so
an hour. I'll edit it in.
Yeah. But so like
go buy a ticket, watch the movie, buy a large popcorn, buy a Dr. Pepper,
buy the popcorn bucket that's just like the deer.
Yeah, and get some like Mike and Ike's too. Can you give me some of those, please?
Reese's Pieces, E.T.'s favorite.
Yeah, Reese's Pieces.
So I guess this I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben. The scene that you're talking about of they can't find him is when he's trying to escape the house, right?
Yeah,
and he's like trying to get into the car. That just felt. I don't know, like that didn't bother me so much because again, like that just feels old school. Like that feels like something that like Indiana Jones would do, and in fact, like that's stuff that Indiana Jones does do in like at least the first like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like that didn't necessarily bother me too much, and I don't know. Again, like this movie feels so old school and throwbacky that I think we're to a certain extent like cinema sins pills that like stuff like that gets called out, and I don't know if that's necessarily a problem with the movie versus how we've garnered to view blockbuster filmmaking, if that makes sense. Like I don't view that scene as like an indictment on Spielberg as a director, because if the characters just turned around they'd see them. Like they're like they think he's in the house, they've swarmed the house. As far as they're concerned, like we've got him, and then he's able to use that against them to escape. Like that just felt like simple blockbuster 101 filmmaking. My problems with this movie aren't necessarily that. My problems with this movie is that like I just don't think they fully, like David Koepp said he wrote 40 drafts of the script. I just don't think they filled out a lot of the gaps. Like, okay, so in the last act of the movie, you realize that O'Connor and Blunt's character have been kidnapped by aliens, and they have been imbued with this knowledge, as Mark was saying, that like O'Connor speaks their language and Blunt is able to impart empathy on to people, which Spielberg has said is this big thesis of this movie is how important empathy is. And while
Yeah.
I think the the filmmaking and the way that the reveal is executed is emotional, I just don't think it's as I feel like it would have behooved the movie if we knew that from the jump that both of
Yeah.
these characters have been abducted by aliens. I don't know what we exactly gain from the knowledge that these people were abducted. It just felt like that
Yeah.
was something smart that they had came up with to explain the other shit. But if we knew that from the jump, like I feel like that alone would help Josh O'Connor's character even more if he knew that he was abducted by aliens and that's why he went
Mhm.
to work for Wardex, and when he saw the aliens, that's why he was
Yeah.
so emotionally driven to expose it, is because he's like, I've been abducted by aliens. This is fucked up, and this is information that I want to reveal. And Emily Blunt's character seems to be kind of aware of it, but she's trying to like in denial. And I think if that were more at the forefront and she was combating that throughout the movie, and then the scene with the house makes her fully accept that, I think we would have had a more coherent arc for their stories. Um, as it is, again, like I agree with the complaint that these characters don't feel like fully realized characters. They just feel like chess pieces for what Spielberg ultimately wants to say. Um, and I think that makes the movie feel kind of empty, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the abduction 30 years ago was done to send the message that the aliens were not being treated well by humans, by Wardex. But it just seems like such a convoluted way for these aliens to get this point across that they
Yeah,
have to wait 30 years for her to go on TV and give this message when like there's probably so many other better ways these aliens who have mastered faster than light, space travel could communicate this message. It just like I still don't understand like why they were even abducted. Like yeah, it's to do this convoluted shit, but like why? Like and why did
yeah.
it have to be so convoluted? Like why
I
did it have to be 30 years ago? Like I don't get it. Maybe I'm a dumbass, but like
No, you're not a dumbass.
I just
I
yeah,
don't know why. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, like, and if the movie, I don't know. I don't think the movie gives us a reason to care for these two characters
yeah,
outside of there are protagonists, and that's really where like a lot of my problems with this movie lay at its feet. I don't mind Colin Firth's character being starkly evil. I think the reason why he's not evil is, or to your point, he just kind of stops being evil, is because once it's at the news station and they go live, he realizes he can't stop it anymore. He's just like, I've tried this entire time to suppress this information. It's good, and I realize it's good. It's gonna happen, and I can't stop it anymore. And I just have to stand by and watch this. Like that was my reading on that scene, um, personally. Uh, but there is now to talk about some things I like. There are two set pieces. One in particular that I think is amazing. I think the much talked about train sequence is
Yeah,
great,
that train sequence kicked ass.
and is
it's
like
pretty cool.
that's why Steven Spielberg is the GOAT. But the sequence that I think is the real standout sequence is the action set piece with the invisible house. I think that is like Spielberg working at his mastery, and the ingenious of that sequence, and that like you don't really know what's happening until you realize what's happening. And I just felt my audience come alive, and there was a lot of cheer moments, and the way that he constructs that sequence, it was like the most inventive action set piece I've seen since Inception. Like I was like, this is why Steven Spielberg is the is probably the most definitive American director of the last, like, century and a half. Like, this is why he is the GOAT. And I think Emily Blunt, for all my faults with her character, I think she gives an incredible performance. Like, she has to do so much, and she nails it. I think Coleman Domingo, who I think at this point could easily be accused of being overexposed, defies that with every performance he's given. He's just so likable on screen. He's so engaging. He just imbues empathy and emotion. His big speech to Colin Firth, I was like almost on the verge of tears, because of how powerful he gives that speech. But yeah, like, I agree. Like, David Koepp is a writer who you could say is at the very least hit or miss.
Yeah.
And I think this script shows some weaknesses, and I don't know how much of that is him, and I don't know how much of that is Spielberg, because Spielberg has said in interviews he wrote a 50-page treatment and gave it to David Koepp to workshop. So I don't know if those gaps in story were stuff that Spielberg was like, don't worry about it. It feels like this was a story that Spielberg wasn't necessarily worried about the mechanics, as well as the more overarching ideas and feelings that he wants to get across, which can often be his weakness as a storyteller. But overall, I think this is a solid movie. Like I said, I don't think it's bad, although, it's not a movie that, like, I'm gonna go to bat to defend. If
Mhm.
someone, like you, Ben, say it's bad, like, that's just,
And when I say
fine.
it's bad, like, I don't mean that it's like terrible, but it's also like, in the grand scheme of like Spielberg's filmography, like, it's like probably bottom 5 for me. Like, it's really towards the bottom. Like, when I say bad, that's kind of what I mean. Because Spielberg, some of his movies are like some of the greatest films ever, and like, as far as like science fiction Spielberg, like, I think this is his weakest science fiction.
I would agree with that. Well,
Like
no, I would
even
put.
weaker than Crystal Skull or War of the Worlds. Like, I think it's like quite a bit weaker than those. And I have problems with those movies, but I thought they were more like entertaining. There was more character to them. So
Yeah,
yeah, unfortunately.
I will say,
Um,
in the theater, I could feel the movie losing my audience by like, after the chase, and once they
yeah.
get O'Connor from the Vortex Horde, I could feel the movie losing my audience. But then when the final 15 minutes happens, I could feel the movie gaining my audience back. But by the end, my audience did the obligatory everybody claps at the
Yeah.
end. And it felt like a big, like, earned clap too. Yeah, I'm higher on this movie than both of you, but, like, I give this movie like a 7.5. Or, like, if we're gonna reference another podcast that we all love, I would give this like a high matinee. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like one of my favorite films of the year. I think I have it like
Mhm.
right outside of the top 10 on my letterbox so far. So yeah, it's a weaker of Steven Spielberg movies, but I feel like it's like, I think Spielberg himself, and I guess unless Mark has more thoughts on this movie, we can kind of dovetail into a larger discussion about
I mean, I have
him
more thoughts too, but
this
yeah.
century. Oh, okay.
I
Well
don't
then,
have anything
uh,
anything to
go ahead.
say. I don't really have anything intelligent to say, but I'm just gonna talk about the spoiler aspect of this.
Yeah.
The final scene of the movie. They reveal the aliens to the world, and I almost was fucking laughing when the news
Okay.
anchor was like crying because it's the ugliest
Yeah.
CGI I've ever seen. For not, it's not ugly. It just looks like an Xbox 360 game, and I'm just like looking at it. I'm just like,
I will
Yeah, some
say
of those spaceships too were like really a little rough looking.
me and my girlfriend laughed when they wheeled out the alien in the wheelchair. Me and my girlfriend did laugh. We were like, "This is
I almost laughed too.
objectively funny.
I almost laughed
This is
too.
objectively funny that
Yeah.
they wheeled out this old alien in a wheelchair, wrapped in a blanket. It looks like someone's uh, grandma, and we were like laughing. And so I was like,
It's his
yeah,
buddy. It's
They're,
Coleman Domingo's buddy.
they're wheeling out Paul for one last job. You know.
yeah.
Ah,
Uh, you know, my girlfriend kept comparing this movie to Paul. You know, the Seth Rogen,
Oh,
Simon Pegg
I have not
movie,
seen.
and there are like some plot similarities to it. You know there's like a Christian girlfriend character and shit like that. So
yeah.
it just reminded her a lot of the movie Paul, and also the aliens in this movie look like Paul.
Yeah. Well, didn't Spielberg have a cameo in Paul?
He did.
And Seth Rogen, who voiced Paul, cucked Spielberg's dad in The
Cut
Fablemans,
Spielberg's dad.
which is
Yes,
one of
yes.
Spielberg's best
Let us not
movies.
forget the great cock.
And Simon Pegg, he's in Ready Player One.
He is in.
He is in
Yeah,
Ready Player One, yeah. So there's a
there's a
lot
lot
of
of
great
there's a
Spielberg
lot of
connections.
Yeah.
Yeah,
screen.
I just want to talk about the fact that they're grays. Like, there's something really weird about
Okay,
like the gray mythology and like all that, because yes, there was a quote unquote sighting of these guys in the 50s. But really, when you saw these like alien sightings that people reported, there was a lot of variation. And then Spielberg made a little movie in the 70s called Close Encounters of the Third
here we
Kind,
go.
where
Here
the
we go.
aliens were basically grays. By the way, much better movie, one of Spielberg's best. But the aliens in that movie were grays, and then everything was grays out the ass after that. And that Spielberg is going back to that, and they were also kind of in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too. Although apparently George Lucas was more interested in the aliens in that than Spielberg. But the fact that he's going back to this, which he has basically like created like a sociological effect where people keep reporting these grays after his movie, and it's almost like he's convinced himself that's like the true thing, which is pretty crazy. I think some of these alien conspiracies are actually kind of harmful, and not just because it's fake, but because like some of these people actually experience like real trauma, and they're kind of talked into saying, well, it must have been aliens because they can't process whatever, if it was sexual abuse or whatever trauma it was. So and you see like with these like haunted houses and like possessions, that's like also kind of like covering up actual trauma too. So some of that's harmful. I don't think Spielberg is being malicious in any way with this, but the fact that he says, well, actually this is the true story, and this is not a science fiction film, this is how it would really happen. So I don't think that's great, but I don't think he's like trying to hurt anybody. But yeah, it's
I
pretty wild.
Yeah, I just come back to Spielberg is a very earnest guy,
Yeah.
and so I just chalk all that stuff up to him just being in earnest, like him saying that he based all of the aliens in this off of real encounters and stuff like that, and that's why they look how they look. Now, Ben, you bring up a good point that maybe he's kind of responsible for
Yeah.
creating the visual look of how we think of aliens. I don't know if there are alien movies before Close Encounters that paint them that way. I don't know.
Nope.
I haven't
That's
really
the first one.
dig that far into alien mythology, nor do I honestly care to. So I'm just
That's
gonna
funny.
take your word for
Yeah.
it. Um, but I do think the aliens look a little bit wonky. But they looked wonky in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like, I don't know if we've
Yeah.
nailed aliens as green or as gray little men. I don't know if we've nailed the look and the texture of them. Because like when
Mhm.
they first show the alien in Roswell, when it's like slumped over, I legit thought that it was a guy in a suit, and it might
Yeah.
have been
They
for
used
all I know.
puppets. They
Like,
used like some like puppeteering and stuff, and some of
okay,
it was CG. I think some of it was puppets, but yeah.
okay, yeah, because I was like, this looks like a guy in a suit, and it looked a little wonky.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if that was intentional, but
Yeah. Which is especially weird because, a lot of people say like some of that like practical stuff looks better when it's shot on film. This movie's shot on film. It has Janusz Kaminski as the cinematographer, so some of that stuff looking kind of like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, fake is like kind of weird, but oh well.
yeah, I think yeah. A lot of people have compared this movie more to Minority Report, which I think is fair because there are
Yeah.
certain scenes where Janusz and his cinematography goes full Minority Report with
Yeah.
the washed out lights and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which I think add a sort of otherworldly look. Like it does have that Minority Report look to it, which I think both helps and hinders the story. Something that I think is interesting is that this is Spielberg's first contemporary set movie since War of the Worlds, and I think it's
Yeah.
interesting that
That is it. That is really interesting. Yeah.
his first contemporary movie is about conspiracy and mistrust of information and aliens and all that stuff. I think that's I don't know if I have any coherent thoughts on what that means, but I think that does mean something, and I think that's very interesting. Um, and the fact that he's talked about how his next film he wants to make is a western, I think is also interesting, and that he's tends to be going back and forth. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just think that's an interesting uh, uh, revelation.
Yeah.
Mark, do you have anything else on this movie?
My final word on Disclosure Day is that I think Spielberg should have just made LMNO.
Ah, yeah, the
Yeah,
video game.
yeah, the video game he
Oh,
almost made in the 2000s.
I mean, that
LMNO.
looked kind of like Minority Report with an alien, so it already was kind of, in
You
that
know when you know when
side.
when when Emily Blunt starts getting really weird in this movie, I'm like, oh, this is like an LMNO movie, and Josh
Yeah,
O'Connor is kind of like escorting her and shit. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah,
this is like LMNO.
yeah. He also did that Taken. He produced that Taken miniseries, which I saw that as a kid and it freaked me the hell out. But if I watch it now, I'd probably think, oh, this is pretty corny. But
Yeah, I wish Spielberg made LMNO, the game and the movie. He should have made that into a movie or a game.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right. I guess we should dovetail into a larger discussion about Spielberg this century. How do you think this movie stacks up with his others? Like, is it
I think
totally at the bottom?
I
Is
think it's
it in the
I,
middle?
I think it's near the bottom. I th- you know you know I
yeah.
you know
Same.
you know I haven't seen War Horse or that, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think this
Warhorse
movie
is pretty weak.
I think this movie and like the BFG kind of like
The
Yeah,
BFG,
the
the big
BFG
fucking giant.
more,
BFJ.
more like the big farting giant.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. It's gonna never leave my brain, unfortunately.
So
I think Spielberg had more to say about the contemporary world with Ready Player One and War of the
here
Worlds than
we
he did
go. Here we fucking go.
Disclosure Day.
I'm logging off.
Log
Yeah.
off.
Well, Minority Report as well,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
was science fiction, but
Yes. Okay. So these are. So I'm just gonna rattle off his films, not in any chronological order, but these are his films of the 21st century: Lincoln, Catch Me If You Can, Minority Report, War of the Worlds, AI, The Fablemans, West Side Story, Munich, Warhorse, Bridge of Spies, The Terminal, The Post, The Adventures of Tintin, which I feel like is basically kind of forgotten.
No, I love
Kingdom of
that shit.
Crystal
I love
Skull,
Tintin.
The BFG, and Ready Player One. I would
Yeah.
say kind of a mixed bag. I would say these last couple of movies from I would say post Ready Player One has been the better end of the crop. Although I do love Catch Me If You Can, Minority Report, and War of the Worlds. Those are
Hmm.
I would probably put the Fablemans as maybe my favorite of his outside of Catch Me If You Can.
Hmm.
Um, I think West Side Story is really great, except for the ending. I kind of don't like the ending, and
Oh,
ironically,
really?
that's the ending that Spielberg wanted to make, and that Tony Kushner was against until he saw it. Um,
Hmm.
uh, I think War of the Worlds is really good. I would agree. If there's a better paranoid alien movie, I would say watch that one. I kind of think Lincoln is kind of boring.
Yeah. So is Warhorse, and so is the BFG.
I haven't seen the BFG. You guys can have Ready Player One. Fine.
That's
You
my
guys can
number.
have it.
Well, I'll get into my list when we.
Um. Uh. Okay. So big overarching thoughts about Spielberg this century. Like,
I,
do
I,
you think the criticism that he doesn't have the magic is valid?
I, I,
Nope,
I,
it's
I,
not valid.
I don't think it's valid either. I think Spielberg is still a good filmmaker, but it's just like the types of projects he chooses. I feel like Spielberg, you know, he really did like peak like 30 years ago, and it's like I think this.
Critical Drinker also thinks so. Critical Drinker says that he shouldn't make movies anymore.
Uh,
And
Oh well,
if
that
he
guy
says so,
is
then
a piece
we
of
all should
shit,
listen.
yeah,
misogynist.
yeah,
So
yeah,
let's not listen.
fuck the critical drinking, not to start beef with any other content creators, but
I'll
Uh,
start beef with him. Fuck him.
but Spielberg, I really do think he like peaked like 30 years ago. Like he won the Oscar. He had like the highest grossing movies, and now he's just like trying to like find new ways to reinvent himself. And sometimes it's with stuff like Minority Report. The Fablemans, stuff like that, and I and sometimes you get shit like the BFG, and I feel like he like picks projects that that like 30 years ago that before he made Schindler's List he probably wouldn't have done. That's what I think of what Spielberg does these for the past like 25 years that he's done. because
yeah,
Mhm.
he does like one of the first movies he does this century is like AI, and that's just like a leftover like Kubrick project, and he makes the movie through like trying to like imitate Kubrick,
yeah,
and I just find that so fascinating.
yeah. And AI, like, it's had like a reappraisal. Like, I think AI is great. It's really hard to watch because it's like so depressing,
Yeah.
but I think it's great. Like, I don't think it deserved like the backlash, the hate it got. Yeah, it's not directed by Kubrick, so it's not gonna completely feel like a Kubrick movie. And because Spielberg's trying to do Kubrick, it's not gonna completely feel like a Spielberg. So it's gonna be kind of weird. But I think it works for
and
what it is
and did it
on that level.
and it informed like the rest of Spielberg's like the latter half of his career.
Yeah, yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to some extent Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan did as well, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say post. I would say like Jurassic Park. Well, I mean, not really, because he does some other blockbusters, but like
Mhm.
Lost
I,
World.
I do think like
Even
Yeah.
Lost
I
World,
do think
even Lost World kind of feels like
it
pretty.
does feel nasty. I
Well, Lost World is darker than Jurassic Park, but it still has like a lot of like that like classic like kind of almost darkly comic kind of violence, which I love to see. So,
Lost World has that Kaminsky like kind of look to it. You know.
oh yeah, it's Kaminsky, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, but I also think that we sort of peg Spielberg too much with the sort of sentimentality. I feel like it goes overlooked how much of a nasty filmmaker Spielberg is. I mean, this is the same guy that made uh,
Jaws.
Jaws,
Yeah.
and this is also the same guy that ended his first Alien movie with the dad abandoning his family. Like he's always been, there's always been, in my opinion, that there's always been this sort of undercurrent of melancholy, even in his blockbusters. Like, I just think I just think this last period has sort of, it's just been highlighted a lot more that there's an undercurrent of nastiness in him.
Yeah, Munich and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like Munich and stuff like War of the Worlds, Minority Report, in people who like Ready Player One say that that's a deeply cynical movie. So
I don't think Ready Player One's deeply cynical. It does have some
go outside, nerd.
Commentary, but
in stuff like AI and stuff like that, like which I know you guys like AI. I don't really like AI that much. I think it's basically a mess. But
I need to rewatch a lot of these movies.
I do need to rewatch it as well. I've only seen it the one time, but it did not leave a big impression on me. I thought it was a mess of a movie.
AI games for the Xbox, the AI tie-in games for the Xbox, fantastic.
Boombox I was gonna say like, I was gonna say the Fablemans has probably been my favorite. If we're just doing 21st century, like the Fablemans, that is like the top. I love that fucking movie.
Yeah,
I think about that movie a lot.
Same.
And I'm a hardcore Ready Player One defender. That's like right below it. Like I think like I love that Spielberg could make such different stuff, and like it still kind of feels like, oh, this kind of has that Spielberg feel, and I love a lot of these.
Sorry to just like talk about Ready Player One for a second, but Ready Player One was like Spielberg trying to do like a Marvel movie.
I think it's better than like almost every Marvel movie.
Yeah, me too. But
I like some of the Marvel movies.
Spielberg like dropped out of doing Robopocalypse because he thought it would just be like a cakewalk for him.
No, it was because he thought it'd be too expensive. Apparently.
Whoa.
Yeah, he thought it was going to bankrupt the studio. He talked about it recently on like one of the podcasts.
Robopocalypse would have made an interesting movie.
Yeah,
would it have been?
It probably would have been like War of the Worlds, but with robots instead of aliens.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've read the book, and the book is kind of like an anthology.
I've heard that the book is like World War Z, but for robots.
Yeah, I think it would have made a cool movie.
Yeah, and but yeah, I love Minority Report.
I love Minority Report. Yeah,
Tintin, I think is great. That is what Kingdom of the Crystal Skull should have been. Now, I don't dislike Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I think Tintin is the more perfect adventure movie.
Yeah. If we haven't pissed off the audience with our Ready Player One appraisal, we should go to praising Crystal Skull, because we do I don't know if we all do enjoy that movie, but me and Ben certainly do enjoy.
Yeah. I think it's the best. I'll say it. I'll fucking say it. It's the best Indiana Jones sequel. I'll fucking say it.
I don't agree with that at all, but okay.
Fucking come at me with your Last Crusade bullshit.
No, I love Last Crusade.
Get the fuck out of here. You only like that movie because the dad is in it. That's it. That movie is such whatever.
I think Last Crusade is the best Indiana Jones movie.
Okay, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, a lot of people have that opinion, but
I sent the video in the chat. It was like hell yeah core. The Last Crusade is pretty much hell yeah core.
Yeah.
So
Last Crusade was pretty much like Spielberg was like, okay, Temple of Doom. Some people liked it, but it had some issues. Last Crusade is like, how do we do Raiders of the Lost Ark but bigger and have his dad in it? Is basically what Last Crusade is. So I prefer Raiders, but Last Crusade is.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is better. I said I
think
agree
Raiders
that
is better, but They're both great, like both great movies.
I think Last Crusade is fun. I don't know if I would say it's great. I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is interesting. I think it's interesting that it has aliens and that it kind of breaks the mold of the sort of religious artifacts,
Yeah.
even though it tries to make the skulls a religious artifact and it doesn't really work.
I'm gonna have a hot take.
No.
I think his relationship with Marion is interesting. I think Mutt is interesting as a conceit of a character. Come at me,
Yeah.
bros.
I don't know. I don't dislike Mutt. I know he's like really hated. I
don't
think
really
the
know
first
why
half
people like
of Crystal
Mutt.
Skull, the first half of Crystal Skull is like great.
It's
Like
great.
legit great. And then the second half, it kind of becomes more of like
With
a
a David Kep
typical
script.
blockbuster. It's not as like interesting, but I enjoy it. But it's definitely one of the weaker of like the Spielberg blockbusters, like from the 21st century.
I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is better than Last Crusade and Temple of Doom. I think it's way better than Dial of Destiny,
Yeah,
which I think
yeah.
is incredibly boring.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say
way
that.
too fucking long.
I was gonna say that. I think Crystal
Holy
Skull.
shit,
I think Crystal Skull is a better send off for Indiana Jones than Dial of Destiny.
I totally agree.
I
totally
think
agree.
Dial of Destiny had the better story, but Crystal Skull was way better directed.
I think
just think Dial of Destiny
I
is
think
so
if they were
boring.
gonna make another Indiana Jones movie, they should have made it like 15 years ago. They should have made
Yeah.
it like right after Crystal Skull, because Dial of Destiny,
Yeah,
it just
that's
it
true.
just has this very depressing kind of vibe to it, because Harrison Ford is so old now. It just they should have made it like right after like The Force Awakens or something. It just
Yeah.
feels like just like man, you're so old. And also like Mutt is dead, because they don't want to cast Shia LaBeouf in a movie anymore. But and also the weird de-aging they did with him at the beginning, like I hated that so much.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask. So in this 21st century, Spielberg basically, I mean, on and off, he basically works with two main screenwriters, outside of a couple of other people, and those are uh, Tony Kushner and David Kep. And I just want to name which ones are which. So the David Kep screenplays, well, I'll say like across Spielberg's career, he's mainly returned to two screenwriters, and those are Kushner and Kep. And so the David Kep screenplays are Jurassic Park, War of the Worlds, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Disclosure Day, and The Lost World.
Yeah.
And Kushner screenplays are The Fablemans, Munich, Lincoln, and West Side Story. And I just want to posit, do you guys sense like any commonality between the Kep scripts and the Kushner scripts? Like, it seems like the Kushner scripts are way more personal, and the Kep scripts might be him trying to reach back to those old Spielberg glory days. But the scripts but the Kep scripts seem like they're kind of nastier, and I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just Kep's sensibilities as a writer or what.
Do you think David Kep should have wrote Ready Player One?
Ooh. No.
Ooh.
I think that, like, honestly, looking at Spielberg and Kep's collaborations, I think with each one it gets worse and worse.
No.
And like Jurassic Park was the first one, and that's the best thing they've done together. I think The Lost World, I know you guys aren't as into it, but I'm a big Lost World head. War of the Worlds, weaker. The last 25 minutes of War of the Worlds, I think, are bad and like actually like hurt the rest of the movie, which was actually decent. And then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, like I said, the first half great, second half not as interesting. And Disclosure Day, I just think didn't work. So I think with each movie, it's gotten worse. And like, Kep has done some great stuff recently, like all the stuff he's done with Soderbergh and
Jurassic World.
So Rebirth. I don't think it's a David Kep. Here's what, I didn't see that. I refuse to let that.
It is the best Jurassic World movie, Jurassic World Rebirth. So
is it?
Yeah, I would say it. I would say
fuck.
so.
God damn. Oh man.
I just
Oh,
think that Spielberg and Kep are not challenging each other enough anymore, and it's kind of showing that like it's just like kind of messy,
what do you think
weak storytelling that's going on with them now.
do you think it means anything that he's the screenwriter that Steven Spielberg has worked with the most? I mean, he clearly likes David Kep.
Yeah.
And he
I
referred
think
to him as a
they're
closer.
too friendly, and he needs somebody who can challenge him. Like Zach Penn, say what you will about Zach Penn.
Okay. I'm getting off this. I'm getting off
Say
this
what you
train.
will about Zach Penn.
I'm getting off
A
this train if you're going to say what you're going to say.
completely different vibe than David Kep.
Yeah, Zach Penn should have wrote Disclosure Day.
Ready Player One,
point,
had a different, feel. It was. I think the characters worked in Ready Player One much better than in Disclosure Day.
I don't agree. I think
it was much more coherent. There's more personality to it.
I'm making a stinky face right now.
Going back to Zach Penn. Zach Penn arguably made the Avengers work.
Yeah. I mean, even Joss Whedon, who apparently they hated each other. Joss Whedon at one point said, "Well, he at least gave me like the blueprint or the structure for what I would,
He also said that Zach Penn's script was basically shit. So I don't know if we can.
But he contradicted himself. I don't know.
Great screenwriter, Inspector Gadget, Charlie's Angels, X-Men: The Last Stand, Elektra.
Okay, I don't blame him for all the horrible, like, Last Action Hero was good.
He hasn't written a movie since Free Guy.
Oh, fuck, he wrote Free Guy. That's right. What are you guys talking about? What are you guys talking
Ready Player One, but here's the thing. Even if Zach Penn has a lower batting average than David Kep, I think he at least challenged Spielberg more than Kep has challenged him in the last few movies.
Do you think Kep did like uncredited like rewrites on Ready Player One?
No, I don't. And I do know he did uncredited rewrites on Jurassic World Dominion, which that was a really weak ass movie. So.
I agree that I think the Kushner scripts are a lot more. They're way better.
They're better, yeah. Just much better.
To your point, Ben, Kushner, like if you do a lot of deep dive research on the Fablemans, like that's like Kushner has said that I was basically Spielberg's therapist, and he would tell me all these incredible stories about his childhood and be like, yeah, but like that's not really something, right? And Kushner said that he would be like, what are you talking about? Like that's like the most insightful thing I've heard. So I do think Kushner pushes Spielberg in interesting ways. It just in terms of their collaborations and stuff, I think they both bring. I don't know if like I like David Kep a lot as a screenwriter. He's written like peak shit. Like he wrote the first Mission Impossible movie. He wrote Jurassic Park. He wrote the first Spider-Man. He's written really fun schlock like Snake Eyes and Carlito's Way.
Black Bag was really good with Michael Fassbender.
I think David Kep should reboot Transformers.
Oh boy. But like I do think that I just find it interesting the two temperaments that Spielberg gets in when he pings between those guys. I feel like with Kep he wants to do like kind of a nastier homage to his blockbuster glory days, and with Kushner he really wants to work through shit. And obviously the Kushner stuff is going to be a lot more interesting because he is trying to work through stuff. And I don't think Kep, when he's working with Spielberg, is bringing any sort of perspective. I think Kep is just a mercenary. And I think Kushner is actively bringing his own perspective to stuff. And I think that's why and I think that's why the Kushner stuff is a lot more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, even though I agree that Lincoln was kind of boring, but the other Kushner collabs were great. So
are incredible. Yeah, I think Munich is great. I
Yeah.
agree that the Fablemans is probably my favorite Spielberg movie of the 21st century, if not for Catch Me If You Can. I have Catch Me If You Can higher in my Spielberg rankings than the the Fablemans, but like the Fablemans is probably like in my top 5 favorite movies of this decade. I think that film is incredible, and at first it wasn't my favorite film of 2022, but now it is. And I think that's if you were going to say that's there could have been a swan song for Spielberg, that would have been the great movie to go out on. Though I do think these last couple of movies he's been exercising a lot of his thoughts. Like I think the Fablemans is him exercising his thoughts on his family, and I think Disclosure Day is him exercising his thoughts on contemporary society. I feel like in a lot of ways, which I think is interesting as well. Do you guys want to do rankings of the 21st century so far?
I don't think I could rank them. I don't think I could rank them.
I was just gonna do like 2010s, but
yeah, sure.
Because yeah, that's like a lot. So I think or 2010s and 2020s.
Okay.
So yeah, like Fablemans 1, Ready Player 1, 2, Adventures of Tintin 3, Bridge of Spies 4.
I don't remember anything that happened. I don't remember Bridge of Spies like at all. That movie completely.
I
loved
it.
I need to rewatch it. I need to rewatch most of these movies.
Yeah. West Side Story 5. 6, The Post. Now, The Post, I liked The Post, but then it's like kind of on the edge, and then once you get below The Post, it's like movies that I just wasn't really as into. 7, I'd probably put Disclosure Day. 8, Lincoln. 9, Warhorse, and of course, at the bottom of the barrel, baby, the BFG, the big fucking giant, which was written by the screenwriter of E.T. and it has none of the magic, none of the adventure, none of the the heartwarming stuff. It's just very. I don't know what happened. It almost felt like a movie. Like he was trying to make a movie for his grandkids, like who are like babies or something. I don't know.
I think Spielberg should make a Minions movie.
I think he said that was him trying to do the old Spielberg magic, and it just didn't.
Yeah,
didn't work. Okay, so if we're just doing the 10s and the 20s, first is the Fablemans. Second is West Side Story, probably. Third is The Post. Fourth, I'll say Disclosure Day. Fifth, I'll say Adventures of Tintin. Sixth, Ready Player One. Seventh, Bridge of Spies. Ninth, Warhorse. And I haven't seen the big friendly giant. So
yeah, big fucking giant.
Yeah, so those would be my rankings. Any final thoughts on Disclosure Day?
Well, did Mark want to rank his, or
he said that he couldn't rank them, but do you want to rank them?
Fablemans is number 1, Ready Player One number 2, Tintin number 3, and the rest, they're all. Yeah. I need to rewatch them again.
Okay, so Mark and I had the same top 3, which is interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts before me and Mark go into Obsession and Backrooms? Real quick.
Spielberg should have gave a Disclosure Day to Tony Kushner.
That would have been a very interesting movie.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're gonna dovetail into Obsession and Backrooms.
Before we get into this, breaking news.
Okay.
Ron Howard and Jim Carrey have announced they're making The Grinch 2.
No, that's not true. You're making that up.
No, it is real. It is Hollywood reported. They have announced. They have a screenwriter. It is happening.
Who's the Snyder.
We are so
It
fucked.
is the creator of Barry, the Bill Hader show. Barry, he's
Oh.
writing the Grinch too.
Oh, God.
It's happening,
Well, you know,
baby.
Bill Hader's playing another Dr. Seuss character this year, so the worst fucking trailer.
Yeah, it is a bunch of like Curb Your Enthusiasm writers who are writing the Grinch too.
I'm reading this story now. This is insane. As someone who likes that movie purely out of nostalgia, why? Just why?
I didn't think Jim Carrey would want to be in that fucking costume again.
I honestly have opinions about Jim Carrey and like that movie that would probably make people not like me, so I'm not even gonna get into it. I'll just say I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
A new segment of the podcast, Grinch Watch 2026.
No, fuck
Grinch
no.
Watch, baby.
God.
Grinch leak.
Just right.
Yeah.
Doing.
Richard's gonna be in Smack 6.
This proves my point though. This proves my point that like 2000s nostalgia is back and huge.
And it
like,
kind of sucks.
2000.
I grew up then.
We are in peak 2000s. If they're doing a sequel to The Grinch, we're in peak 2000s nostalgia.
So where's my
get ready for iPod to come back? Get ready for like Pokemon is already big now again. Like peak 2000s, it's in full swing. Like Shrek 5 is gonna make all the goddamn money.
Yeah. Where's my fucking live action Yu-Gi-Oh movie?
That's coming. I guarantee you that's coming.
Or some shit. Get
guarantee
Scorsese on that. Do like
Shrek,
The Color of Money with Yu-Gi-Oh.
I guarantee you Yu-Gi-Oh and Beyblade are on their way.
Jerry Bruckheimer is supposed to do Beyblade.
So it's coming. Fucking Mega Man is coming. Fucking.
Well, Mega Man's from the 80s, but yeah.
Well,
Rick and Morty.
I know of it in the 2000s, but like they, you know, if they touch Digimon before I get to Hollywood, I'm gonna burn it down.